You're listening to Ep.4 of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. Thank you for being here with us today. We've all heard the thought to dream bigger and never give up. But what does that look like when you're facing adversity and choosing to walk through those challenges and not give up on yourself? Today we visit with the first Kansas native to ever capture the title of Miss Rodeo USA, Brooke Wallace, and she shares her story on what it means to dream bigger and never give up on yourself. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best: "Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way." Good morning, Brooke, and thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait for everybody to just get to know you a little bit better throughout the podcast today. And so give us a little highlight of kind of where you're at right now and what you're doing as Miss Rodeo USA.
So there, you hit it right on the head. Being Miss Rodeo USA and the time being, and that in itself is just quite the thing to be able to say, I guess you would put it that way. It's the be-all of rodeo queens, and so it's a pretty amazing title to hold, and I'm just living it up every moment of the way this year. I'm actually getting ready to head to Oklahoma today, and then I'll spend a lot of time in the South here coming up in the next couple months. So something new, and it's just going to be a blast. I'm just going with it.
Now, Brooke, when you travel to these different events, are you flying or you're driving? What does that look like?
Most of the time I'm driving, and it's different for every girl that comes through because it depends where kind of your home base is. And being from Kansas puts me fairly close to a lot of the places I'm going to. You know, when I get down to Georgia, that's a pretty good drive. But the thing is, with that kind of those rodeos down there, I'm going to hit multiple when I go. So it makes much more sense for me to drive down there and stay for about a month instead of kind of zigzagging back and forth or even flying back and forth, because that way I can have more of my clothes, more of my hats, and whatnot. And it gives me the freedom to drive when I get to those places instead of having to hitch a ride with everyone.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to have your own vehicle. And I feel like, you know, a little bit your vehicle kind of becomes your home away from home when you're traveling that much throughout the year. It's your own little space. And it's been so fun to get to know you better this year. And, you know, it's literally been 10 years ago that I was doing exactly what you're doing right now in the same position. And it definitely, it changed the trajectory of my life. And I met some incredible people along the way. And truthfully, a lot of those people that I met, some of those are the people, and their stories are the reason that I felt so called to start this Cowgirl Confessions podcast. And just the conversations that would happen, you know, during, you know, the middle of the day when you're under trailer awnings and kind of cooking out between the slack and the performance, or those, you know, late night slack
deals, and you're just so many. I mean, there's nothing quite like rodeo family, I guess. And when you get to be right in the midst of it and you're representing that group of individuals, whether it be the stock contractors, the rodeo committees, the contestants, the sponsors, there's just nothing quite like it. And so I'd love to just kind of hear your take on, you were crowned Miss Rodeo USA back in January of 2020, and what that's kind of been like this year, as it hasn't been what we call a normal year with the way the world is right now, but just kind of what your journey's been like and what you've enjoyed the most.
Absolutely. And you definitely nailed it on the head with what you just said there. It's just a whole different lifestyle. It's a whole different way of just going from rodeo to rodeo and getting to represent something bigger than yourself. And I've been a part of doing that for years. I mean, I represented in high school during FCCLA, and then I went on and represented something bigger than myself in college with being in a sorority and being on the rodeo club. And so I think it's just kind of a natural part of my life anymore. I don't really know any different. So it's great to see that growth and the prosper of a program when you're involved in it. But yeah, this year has been different. I think that's the best way to put it at the end of the day. There was so much hype coming off of being crowned Miss Rodeo USA in January. And then I did a lot of local things throughout February, just because I was planning for the year and getting my schedule together and all those great things. And March was pretty much my time to hit the road and go and go and go and go. It was like, wow, this is going to be a year. And then we get to March, and as we all know, everything just literally halted. And the weirdest thing for me is that I got so used to being on the road and going, and having to literally stay home was very hard. Like, I have not done that in my life for years, like since before high school. I'm just a busybody and I'm always involved with something. And so I think maybe getting used to that was a bigger step than not going to rodeos. And so it was just kind of one of those things where every week the next thing would cancel, and it was like a slow graduation of, we didn't really know when we would start back up. People would say, oh, it'll be April. Then it was, oh, it'll be June. And, things like that. So luckily I did get to go back on the road mid-June and pretty much have been on the go since. So I'm thankful for that, and thankful that of the time that I do get to spend on the road and go into rodeos, because, you only get 1 year rodeo queen titles. That is different to a lot of people. They're like, oh, how many years do you do this? And well, as you can have lots of different titles, you can only have one title or one time. And so just making the most of it, and looking forward to being in the South here in the next couple months and being busy down there.
Yeah. Have you adjusted to all the sweet tea and humidity when you go down there? Have you learned to just kind of embrace it, or?
Well, I haven't spent much time there yet. I think I've spent more time in Oklahoma and Kansas, honestly. So I think I'll get my fair share of that in August and September. I'll get back to you on that one.
Oh yeah, you're going to be there in the prime of some of that humidity. So, well, just really excited for you to get out on the road and be able to go and meet a lot of these people and represent the International Professional Rodeo Association, and just really rodeo queens and cowboys and cowgirls everywhere. Because you're the face of the IPRA this year, and what I really love about the Miss Rodeo USA organization and that title that you're carrying is that each year there's not a cookie cutter image of what Miss Rodeo USA should look like, and I just think that it's actually just really refreshing, because it doesn't matter really kind of your background or where you came from, if you grew up rodeoing your whole life, or if you were a trail rider from the West Coast, or just it's kind of one of those deals that you're welcome to show up, compete against yourself, tell your story and kind of let the cards fall where they may. And you have such an incredible story, Brooke. Just your journey to become Miss Rodeo USA, and certain obstacles and things you've overcome. And so let's back up for a minute and let's talk a little bit about just kind of your childhood and involvement with horses.
Yeah, and that's one thing that has been part of my life forever. The question I always get is, how long have you been riding? And honestly, I just kind of say 2. 2 was the age I think my dad really started leading me through the barrels, and there was the lead line classes and things like that. And ever since, we've showed horses every summer up until last year. I was too busy being Miss Rodeo Kansas. I made it to 1 horse show because I didn't want to say that I ever missed a year. But so yeah, I think that involvement with horses just it teaches you a lot more than you really think. At the end of the day, just how to take care of something, how to be responsible. When the going gets tough, keep going. Those kind of things. I think I've learned them all on the back of a horse. And there's been a lot of great horses through the years that have come and gone, and we still have a lot of great horses. So I'm excited to continue on in the horse industry the rest of my life, honestly. And I hope that that's something that can be instilled in my family too, and kind of keep that going through the generations. And just so many great things come from being on the back of a horse.
So Brooke, you grew up horse showing, and what all different, kind of classes did you compete in? And then also, are there any other disciplines outside of kind of the Western realm or horse showing that you've been a part of?
Yes, so I grew up in association where we had all of the events. So English, Western, reining, showmanship, and then mini speed events. So it kind of gave me the opportunity to learn to do quite a bit. And so, I started out more with just the Western pleasure and the speed events. And then kind of in middle school, I started doing more of the showmanship and reining and English pleasure. And so I think that was just a great opportunity for me to learn to be a better rider, and learn to ride a lot of different horses at one horse show. And at that point, I didn't realize that I was going to be a rodeo queen. That came later. But looking back, that's one thing that helped me the most to get where I am today, because as we all know, being a good rider is one of the most important parts of being a rodeo queen. So I'm so thankful that my aunt and my dad pushed me to kind of do some of those different events like reining and English, and because it sure helped me where I am now. Absolutely.
If somebody's listening to this that maybe doesn't have, that support system at home, but really wants to start riding, do you have any advice for them or some tips on how they could maybe start taking those first steps to do that?
Absolutely, because, while I grew up in the horse industry, I did not grow up in the rodeo industry. And so I had a huge learning curve when I started running for queen pageants. I really honestly knew nothing about rodeo. And so this kind of relates to most anything, that when you don't know anything about it, you just kind of have to dive headfirst and just make the most of everything you can. I just didn't take anything for granted, and I talked to as many people as I can. I did as much research. I just kind of went for it. And I think that translates exactly to those who want to get involved in riding horses. Find a local boarding stable. Maybe you can start out by cleaning stalls, and then maybe you can take lessons after that. There's a million things that you can do. You just have to have the initiative to do them yourself, because while I've had a great support system, I know not everyone does. And a lot of things that I have done in life have been purely because I wanted to do them and I got them done. So my family just aided in the help of that, and I'm so thankful, so thankful for that. But yeah, just go out and do it. There's no day like today, and kind of just have the attitude of let's get it done.
Yeah, I really like how you said, kind of think outside the box in a way. If it's you can trade your services, whether it's cleaning stalls or maybe just any array of things. Whenever I was in high school, I had grown up rodeoing, but I had never been a part of the cutting. And when I moved into high school rodeo, that was an additional event you could compete in. And so we had some really good friends that were in the cutting horse industry. But it wasn't something that we were ready to we wanted to kind of stick our toe in the water to figure out if this is something I really enjoyed or what, if we were going to invest in it. And so, I cleaned stalls all summer long to swap out for lessons. And, then the next summer it turned into not just cleaning stalls, but they gave me a little bit more responsibility, halter break and weanlands. And, and just, there's lots of ways that you can get involved, even when you maybe financially are not in a place yet to invest a lot of money, just by showing up and saying, hey, I'm eager and willing. And I think that too, from being, somebody on the inside now with quite a few years under my belt, that I really enjoy seeing people, young and old alike, that want to be a part of this industry and are willing to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Brooke, whenever you were saying, you grew up doing all these different disciplines and then, just learning about rodeo, because it's very different, even though it's all in the horse industry, there's, it's just kind of a different world, horse show versus rodeo. And what, when you transition really into preparing to be a rodeo queen and competing and all that, what are some of the different opportunities you've had that maybe have shifted your interest on the competitive side?
So the one biggest thing is, and I still laugh today, is, I grew up barrel racing, but like you said, it's completely different when you go from the horse show industry to the rodeo industry. And, when I started getting interested in rodeo, I was like, oh yeah, I want to barrel race. Like that was another thought when I, was like, okay, rodeo queen, barrel racing, I can do this. And I realized it was pretty darn competitive, and especially in college rodeo, because that's when I really got interested in rodeo, was during my kind of right when I started college. And so I kind of realized that, barrel racing might be a little difficult in that competitive of a season. And, I was trying to get a degree as well. So I had to kind of do a happy medium. And that happy medium was being a rodeo queen, which I now have realized has gotten me so far in life. And I always said to myself, I was like, I can barrel race when I'm 80, but I can't be a rodeo queen when I'm 80. So that's kind of how I went about through my college years, is representing the sport that I love instead of competing in it. And so looking forward, that's something that I really want to get back to. Obviously, this is my last year being a rodeo queen, which is really weird to say because it's been part of my life for about 6 years now. And so I'm going to start getting my horses' leg back up, because they have been on a very long break, and I think they thoroughly enjoy it. But I'm ready to get back in the rodeo scene and be a competitor and make that happen too, because one of the biggest things through all of my years as being a rodeo queen is people forget that, we're competitors too, or, we're part of the lifestyle, not just out there carrying flags and whatnot. So kind of a roundabout way of me kind of making that complete circle, showcasing that, a rodeo queen is also a competitor and is part of the sport more than some people realize.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And it's such a, I can't really describe the feeling other than it's just a wonderful feeling when that gets to come full circle. And, you shared with me that you have a goal of making the IFR and the barrel racing in the next 5 years. And I have no doubt that you'll you'll achieve that goal. And there's just nothing quite like, when you hear the announcer say, former Miss Rodeo USA is here, competing at the IFR. And I've had that opportunity once, and I hope as well to be able to go back and focus on that later on too. But just in a different season of my life right now, raising a baby and working, and just really putting all my energy into this podcast, because I feel like there are so many women out there like yourself that have amazing stories to share with us. And I just want to share those with the world. I want people, whether they've, never had the opportunity to be in the horse industry, or if they live in it every day, just to be able to come here and hear from different people like yourself and be encouraged by your story. And so, Brooke, you went to K-State, and, I just so admire you and your ability to, again, think outside the box, and even what degree you got, and kind of your vision for starting your own business. And let's dive more into that.
Yeah, so as a rodeo queen, most people like to think that you are going to be a vet or in the ag industry in some capacity. And so I always get people caught off guard or kind of stump them when I say, no, I got a fashion degree. And they're like, wait, what? It's like the same reaction every single time. But it's awesome because then they're very intrigued by it and they want to know how that came about. And honestly, in high school with my fax classes, I started to sew, and along with my aunt and my grandma too, kind of teaching me along the way. And I really liked it. And I've always been super into art and very creative. And so it was a way to be an artist, but through clothing and making something that's usable and wearable. And I always have like 3 different plans for one project. And so to be able to wear it and showcase it, that was part of the whole creation process for me. And so I competed in FCCLA and went to nationals for creating different dresses throughout high school. And that was kind of just a little bit of a boost I think I needed, because it's hard, especially in high school, to know if you're good enough at something to make it a career. And so through those little things and competing at the national level, I was like, okay, I got this, I can do it. And so that's what made me end up at K-State, and they have a great fashion program there. And I just kind of dove right in, because at that time in my life, I was a little bit more behind in the sewing than a lot of my peers were. And so that was like another catch-up moment in my life where I had to work really hard to kind of be able to catch up and learn all those different things on how to sew, even just a pair of jeans. So it was one of those, another time in my life where I just worked and worked and worked. And because I knew that if I worked hard, no one could take that away from me. And it was just kind of a process through college, learning where I wanted to be in the industry. And it kind of landed me back to the Western industry. And one day it just all clicked. I was like, I don't know why I'm here trying to make athletic wear or this, that, and the other thing. Like, my product should be who I am. And that was Western wear. And then, at that same time, I started to be a rodeo queen, and I started to make my own clothing. And again, it was like that light bulb moment where I was like, okay, I'm here, I'm making Western wear, and I'm going to make it for rodeo queens. And just one day, it kind of all came together, and I was like, I know what I'm going to do after college. I'm going to start my own business and primarily make clothes for rodeo queens, because it's a huge part of me. I understand the industry, and I understand what those people need. And there was a lot of weight lifted off my back the day that happened. And I'm just so excited to kind of continue to get to be a part of the rodeo queen industry, not just to make clothes for girls, but to make girls feel confident when they walk on that stage and when they enter that arena. There's just so much great things that come from being a rodeo queen, and especially for girls, I've seen the confidence of not only myself just go sky high, but young girls that have been so timid and shy, and then They get their first rodeo queen title, and it's like a whole new persona has come over them. And it's just amazing to see that. And just knowing that we're going to have all these strong, independent, like hardworking women out in the world just because they had the opportunity to be a rodeo queen. I think that's pretty amazing when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. So I'm just excited that my business gets to kind of help girls along the way. And I hope that that translates a little bit into kind of coaching girls as well, and just kind of helping them out, because I received so much of that little help along the way for past rodeo queens. I kind of want to pay it forward in the aspect of, you know, if someone reaches out to me, I'm going to help them be the best that they can be at the end of the day.
Brooke, I just can't say enough about how much I love your overall mission with this, and just want to applaud you in that, you know, in that moment of clarity that you had, you just said it so perfectly. You know that, you know, your niche market, you know who you want to serve, you understand the industry, and there's power in that. There's so much power in that, because to your point, it's not, it could be just clothes, you know, but that's not your vision. And what you're going to do is be so much more than clothes. But we all know that when you look good, you feel good. And so yeah, just excited to watch all this unfold, because like you said, you've been, you know, really focusing on your rodeo queen career after college. And so while I know that, you know, you've made some beautiful pieces of clothing that you've modeled yourself and for some other people as well, you haven't necessarily, you know, focused on that with everything yet. And so just over the next, you know, year or so, it's going to be really, really fun to watch you step into that. And man, I can't wait to see all the creations you're going to come up with. But I also just, I know you're going to bless a lot of people's lives that need that reminder that, you know, you're doing more than just competing for a title or a crown. Really looking at being a rodeo queen as more of a resume builder or a skill set builder. And you know, I just think we need more of that, because if you're doing all this and not learning a bigger goal or bigger lesson, I should say, in the process, then it's really it's a miss, honestly.
Absolutely. I think that translates to most things in everyone's life. You know, we're constantly learning and growing, or should be. And if you're not, I think you need to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Life's about is continuing to grow and continuing to just make the most of everything that's in front of you.
And that really embodies just, I feel like, who you are. You know, that last line you said, make the most of what's in front of you. And, you know, unfortunately, you and I, while we've got lots of fun things we've been able to bond over, and we've gotten to know each other better, we also share in the fact that we both have lost our moms. And you know, you were talking about, you know, being in college, and when you kind of finally realized all this connected for you and what you wanted to pursue as a rodeo queen designer and whatnot. But during that period of time too is also when you lost your mom. And so can you share with us a little bit of what that, you know, looked like, and how that's played a real part in defining how you look at life now?
Absolutely. You know, college is kind of a crazy time for anyone without losing a parent on top of it. And so, I was going into my sophomore year at K-State, and I was in a sorority like I had mentioned before. So we were going through recruitment and whatnot, and I get a phone call from my dad at like a weird time of day. I'm like, he knows I'm busy. What is he bothering me about? And so I call him back, and that was kind of the moment where like it really sunk in, because so my mom had cancer, and she'd been battling it for just about a year and a half, I think, at that point. And he's like, hey, you need to come home. Like, your mom's not doing well. And like, to me, she was this person who could get through anything, because once she was diagnosed, she went through chemo, radiation, and everything, and then was considered cancer-free very shortly after. Like, it was a short-lived first kind of segment, but then it came back pretty quick. As fast as it went, it came right back. And so I think I had the mindset of, like, she's invincible. If she got through it once, she can get through it again. And so, like, to hear my dad say, like, you need to come home was, like, horrible, because I was like, oh no, what is wrong? Like, this can't be happening, And so kind of through the next probably week, it all went so fast that, it was just a downhill spiral for her. It was one of those things that it was just kind of too far deep. She had stage 4 cancer, and it was a really, really hard thing to deal with, especially, like I said, being in college and trying to find yourself and trying to figure out what you're doing. And then all on top of that, you're like, oh, my life is falling apart. And it felt like that for a while. But the one thing that, out of anything she could tell anyone, she said, don't let my girls quit school. And I can laugh about it now, because I'm like, that is such my mom to say that. Don't let my girls quit school. Like, keep them going. Like, that's the only thing she told anyone at the end of the day. And so every time, like, and ironically enough, the only place I wanted to be after my mom's death was home, was like at home with my dad and my sister. And like, I couldn't be, because I had school, and only thing I knew that she left me with was I couldn't quit. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, like, her leaving me with that message that I didn't understand at first, because I was like, you couldn't left me with any different message. Like, you couldn't have told anyone anything else. It was just, don't quit. And I think, that's kind of just kept with me even through now. We're going on, I think, the 6th year anniversary of my mom's passing. And that's just wild to me when I say it out loud. But what a good lesson that I got out of it was, don't quit when it gets hard, when it gets rough. You just can't put the saddle up. You can't put the saddle up until the job's done. And so, it's hard, because I think you can relate with this too, Dakota. It's like, you want your mom there for all the milestones and everything. And she was one of the people that believed in kind of my rodeo queen journey at first, because about the same time I was started being a rodeo queen is when she passed as well. So she got to see me get my first title. And so that's kind of a really sweet moment. I'll probably cry a little bit,
I'm crying already, Brooke. It's okay. It's okay. So.
And so she got to see that happen. And her and my grandpa actually were the two that were like, when I first tried for my first title, they were both like, you can do it. You got this. Like, we believe in you. And kind of rewind before that July, when I competed for Miss Rodeo Junction City, that April, my grandpa actually passed away too. And then moving on, and then, so I earned the title in July, and after I got it, my aunt comes up to me and she's like, you won't believe what Grandpa said before this. And even back in April, he's like, I know she's got it. She's got it in the bag. And so while I love telling that story, because, like, just knowing that you have people that kind of have your back and, like, always are going to support you is amazing. And then to kind of see it full circle, and that I actually did win the title, and that he already knew I was going to do it. So that's kind of a little moment I keep special. And then just about a month after I won the title is when my mom passed away. So I think I'm just, like, more grateful that, she got to kind of see that happen with me. She obviously sees me above, but yeah. So I think everything in general, just, there was so much happening in my life, and then the loss of her, honestly, it probably made me the strongest I could ever be. And I always said there wasn't anything that could be harder than that. So I guess I can take everything on now. And, I always think about that sometimes when, I'm tired or just kind of worn out. You get that way. And I was like, well, she told me I couldn't quit school, so guess I can't quit this either. So I like to make light of it. And it's hard. And some days you can talk about it so easy, and other days just catch you right in the heart.
It does, and I just appreciate you being, just so open and real and willing to share that story, because while there is like a plethora of lessons, I feel like that we can talk about from everything you just said. One of the first ones that came to my mind was just, how you've continued to persevere and you show up, and when you're a rodeo queen, you're in the spotlight. That's part of your job. You're the face of something. But to your point, sometimes you can talk about it and it's okay, but then other times, something might just really be a trigger, and you start off good, and then you get really emotional. And I feel like when you are in the spotlight like that, sometimes I think it's easy for people, not in a malicious way, but they just think, man, this girl, everything's easy. Look how pretty she is. They don't necessarily think about, we're all human. We've all got struggles. We've all got these kind of internal battles or things we're dealing with. And just like in that situation, I think also the whole don't give up, don't quit message, because when you're, you show up at a rodeo and you're there to do a job, and no matter maybe what you're feeling on the inside, you show up, you put a smile on your face, and not that you're trying to bury those emotions, because I feel like we all can say, kind of like when after a run, you go out to the trailer, you have your few minutes at the trailer by yourself, or maybe if you weren't pleased with how you did or something, you just kind of have that release, but then you get it back together, you put that smile back on your face, and you go on doing your job. And so just, Brooke, I just want to tell you, like, just you walking out and your purpose and sharing your story about the loss of your mom. I know that, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that can relate to losing a parent. And because it is hard to talk about, I feel like, grief and just kind of that journey of grief when you do lose somebody, I don't think it's talked about enough, because it is. It's hard to talk about, and we'd rather talk about fun things, I mean, that's just our nature. But there's so much to learn when you walk through a season like that of losing a parent, as well as what life is afterwards. And I know that looks different for all of us, but just the way you described how it's in moments that have been hard, it's like you feel like, hey, I've walked through the hardest thing I've ever walked through in my life. So it really helps you measure things in a different capacity.
Yes, I agree. And I always, going back to you saying, like, people have a different perspective when you look out and you see the queen in the arena and her hair looks great and she's riding this beautiful horse and things, and they don't always know the backstory. And I try to keep that in my mind too. When you meet someone, you don't always know their backstory, and really trying not to, kind of make that first initial judgment of someone or something until you kind of know them a little bit better, because everyone's holding on to something. And so I think that's important as we go through life, is really to, really be more considerate of other people, and maybe something that's going on in their life is reflecting at how they're acting that day or whatever. And so just always kind of putting that best foot forward and throwing a lot of kindness at people, I think is important, because I know some days when I probably just had a bad look on my face because I was going through a lot, and it just took someone to say, hey, you look great today, or I love your shoes, or things like that. And so I always try to keep that in the back of my mind to always pass along to others, because they might just be having a bad day, and that one little comment could totally change the rest of their day or even their week. So I think that's another important thing you learn when you lose something or someone special in your life, is just kind of work hard to pass it on and help other people through that kind of situation.
Yes, that's, just such a great reminder, Brooke. And guys, if I don't want to forget this. So if you're not already following along with Brooke and her Miss Rodeo USA journey. She puts out a blog on a regular basis on MissRodeoUSA.com, and I'll put that in the show notes. But so you'll love getting to follow her along there. And one of the unique parts about being Miss Rodeo USA is that you also have a platform, Brooke. And so share with us a little bit more about that platform, and then what your role is as a rodeo queen that some people may not realize when you're not actually at a rodeo, how you use that platform.
Absolutely. And this is kind of one of my favorite things about the title of Miss Rodeo USA is that we get to really promote something a little bit more than a lot of the other titles do. And my platform this year is called Dream Bigger. And that just stems from the idea of that, we all can set goals and we can all have our dreams, but take the initiative to really set those even higher. It's like where you think you can accomplish something, make that goal just a step higher so that you're pushing yourself to dream bigger and do bigger and go bigger. It's just kind of that initiative of, you have to be willing to put yourself in maybe an uncomfortable spot to reach big things. And that's how we make the world better, is just by going out and doing things better than we think we can do. And that's kind of what I've accomplished here, with becoming Miss Rodeo USA. That was the ultimate dream bigger goal for me in the time. And obviously I've set more since then. It doesn't ever stop with one thing, but so when I go around and I'm traveling for rodeos, a lot of times there'll be school visits or different groups to talk to. And this is the topic I always talk about. I get to talk about this idea of dreaming bigger. And the greatest example I have, is becoming Miss Rodeo USA. And so people get to see that whole thought process and what I'm talking about come to life as I tell my story of starting out as just not just, but as Miss Rodeo Junction City, a local title for an open rodeo. And now I represent a whole rodeo association with a national title. So, that whole process is kind of what I talk about with people as I go along the road, and hopefully inspiring them to set their goals bigger. And it's just such a cool thing for me to get to do, because a lot of people, usually their platform stems from something. And when I started my rodeo queen journey, I had a cousin who was a rodeo queen. She was quite a bit older than me, and I was just, I think, about 6 when she passed away. She was in a fatal car accident, and just a bad deal all the way around. But she kind of started the thought process of this platform when, while I was little, the stories that I always heard about DJ was that, she did everything she could and she dreamed bigger, and she just was so patriotic and loved being a rodeo queen. And her goal was to someday, be Miss Rodeo USA. And along the way, a lot of the titles that I've carried were ones that she wanted to carry as well. And so through my journey as a rodeo queen, I've also got to, live out hers. And so I accredit my platform a lot to her. And just, it's been cool along the way. I feel like I've gotten to know my cousin a little bit better. Even though she's not here, it's just been fun to kind of live that out for her in her honor.
Such a special way, all these different reasons that you were, called for that to be your platform. And you've done an incredible job utilizing social media to share your platform this year. And so a couple of things with that. One, tell us a little bit about the monthly contest that you've been doing to share your platform with people. And then I'd love it too if you could give our listeners just your top 3 tips for managing and making content for social media, because what a lot of you may not realize is that as Miss Rodeo USA, your job is to manage those social media pages and share your journey. And while Brooke is just extremely, gifted at that, that's not something that just because you're a rodeo queen, you know how to show up on social media. in a really great way. And so I'd love it if you could just share with us some of your tips and tricks for that, as well as a little bit more about how you're getting your platform out to people, in the world that maybe have never been to a rodeo.
Absolutely. So one fun thing that I decided to do along with my platform, so that not just the kids at the school I was going to or the groups that I went to talk to heard about it, but so that the whole social media world heard about it. And what I do is I put out a message and I say, hey, if you take the initiative to send me a message with your dream bigger goal or what you want to do, and also tell me how you're going to do it. So that's kind of planting the seed in people's mind of, oh, like maybe just coming up with what do I want to do? What is my dream bigger goal? And then also making them take initiative to tell me how they're going to get there. So those are two really important things when you make a goal, is make your goal, but also make little goals so that you know that you can reach that bigger goal. Because as we all know, it takes time to get somewhere, and it takes hard work and thought out processes to get there. So if they do that and they send me a message, I kind of put them in this little group where each month I go through and pick one that I connect with or one that's really thought out, and I send them something special in the mail. And I've been sending each recipient each month a really fun red, white, and blue keychain, and then also an autograph sheet from myself, and a little note that kind of talks to them about their goal and their dream, and maybe helps them push it a little bit farther, or just, kind of is a positive thing for them to continue on with their goal. And then the keychain is just a reminder. You can hang that on your keys or hang it on your backpack, and it's just a daily reminder to keep pushing forward towards those dreams. And of course, it's red, white, and blue in honor of DJ. I know she would love it. So that's one thing that I've promoted throughout the year, and it's been fun to see those people receive them, and they will always send me a message and say how much I love that. So it's just a great thing to keep people looking forward in the future. And that's been part of my social media plan this year. So talking in terms of social media, it can be kind of daunting some days when you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to post about today or whatnot? And when you're on the road and going places, it's easy to post about the rodeo that you're at or whatnot. And I've noticed over the years being a rodeo queen, a lot of times at each rodeo, I'm doing the same thing. So while I'm there, I always try to seek out either for myself to do something different, or just to kind of look at the rodeo in a different way. So I like to tell stories, and I think it's fun for people to read that on social media instead of just saying, oh, I carried the flag at this rodeo. I try to make it interesting and tell little tidbits, because I get to experience this wonderful year, and I want other people to be able to experience it well. So I just kind of go into a lot of things with a different thought process, just to find unique stories that pop out that I can post on social media. And along with, doing giveaways. So like my Dream Bigger giveaway, and I also have been doing sponsor giveaways throughout the year. One month Dakota and I did an Ariat giveaway, and that one has probably been the most successful out of the months this year. Everyone went wild over that. I think it was a jean card for a free pair of jeans. And so it's just another way to involve your followers and get them involved and kind of give back to them as well. And especially through this crazy time where I was at home for multiple months, and continuing to write a blog when I was going nowhere was a little bit difficult, but I kind of just flipped it and looked at it a different way. I told some stories growing up, and I talked about my other rodeo queen titles, and just gave people a little bit more insight on my life, because they're interested. And I used to not think that they were so interested in knowing about me personally. I thought, they wanted to know about rodeo, but no, they really do want to know about each girl each year. So that's been really cool to share my story with a lot of people. And with social media, the biggest thing is just be you and do it your way, because there's nothing better than that. And it took me a while to realize I don't have to conform to this, that, or the other thing. I'm just going to make it my own. And when everyone makes their project or their social media their own, that's when we get originality and uniqueness between everyone. And so I think that's an important thing to think about when maybe you're trying to navigate through your social medias or make them better or grow them, is just be you, and people are going to like you for that.
Yes, yes. I mean, just really that authenticity that you can see and feel, through certain social media accounts, and think really just sharing your story, because we all have a story. And just thank you for those tips and everything. As your friend, I've enjoyed following along, and then as a sponsor as well, you've just done an amazing job highlighting all your sponsors and taking the time to do that, because it matters. There's nothing quite like that word of mouth grassroots marketing, and that's exactly what you're able to provide, in your position and via social media. And so just thank you for all of that, Brooke. And whenever you have traveled, and you had titles before Miss Rodeo USA, you were talking about the keychains, and it made me think about something really cool that, you've done before, and just how you've been able to have some really unique experiences by thinking outside of the box and using your artistic kind of creativity, or just overall this mindset of, I can do this, even when maybe you've never done that before, and whatever the case might be, if it's roping or whatever. And so tell us a little bit more about what you did with the keychains, and then just any other fun experiences you had leading up to being Miss Rodeo USA in the Western world.
Yes, so the keychains was a project I had last year as Miss Rodeo Kansas. And there's an organization that raises money for cowboys who get injured on the road. And it's just kind of set in place to help them out when they can't be rodeoing and making money. It helps them pay bills or whatever they need for their family. And so I wanted to give back to that program that helps so many cowboys and cowgirls along the way. And so I made keychains and sold them throughout my year as Miss Rodeo Kansas. And I was able to raise $2,000 to send to the Justin Cowboy Crisis Fund. And that was just a way for me to give back, because I could so easily make this cute little keychain that I know people wanted. And so I gave 100% of the proceeds back to that organization. And it was just such a good feeling at the end of the day. And I think we all need to work towards doing more things like that when we have the opportunity to give to other people, to do it, because you never know when you're going to need that in return. So, that was such a fun project. I made a lot of keychains, 200 keychains last year. It was over a gradual amount of time. And then another one of my favorite stories is, and this just goes back to, telling yourself that you can do it, and going forward and just trying something new, and not being afraid of that. We were at a rodeo last year, and there was like a fun ranch rodeo the afternoon before the rodeo performance. And you don't see that at every rodeo, but this particular one had a ranch rodeo. And if you don't know what a ranch rodeo is, it's crazy, fun, exciting, very watchable. And some of the rodeo queens and I decided that we wanted to enter the ranch rodeo. And let's keep in mind that when you're traveling rodeo queen, you don't always have your own horse. You're not usually traveling with your tack and your trailer and your ropes and things like that. And so we not only decided to enter this ranch rodeo, but we decided to do it and borrow horses and borrow ropes and borrow everything we needed to get this job done. And it was a little bit crazy, I will admit. Maybe not one of my best ideas at the end of the day. But we all went into it with no fear, and we just had this mentality of, we're going to do it, and we're going to show people we can do it. And it was funny. We all wore retro Western shirts. So not only were we a group of girls in this ranch rodeo where none of the other teams had girls on them, we were also really stuck out like sore thumbs because we were all in crazy wild print shirts. And, you know, to make this story even crazier, none of us were good ropers by any means. And I sure hadn't even roped off a horse before. Like, I had done some dummy work at this point, but I never even roped a live animal off a live horse. So, like, I just keep telling you things that are probably like, oh my gosh, this is going to turn out bad. And, but it didn't. And, you know, I caught 2 steers that day, 3 events, and I couldn't be more proud of myself for just kind of mentally working through that. And the power of just your mental thought process. And if you can tell yourself you can do it, and you can do it. And, oh, I love telling that story because, you know, it just makes us realize that, you know, we can do stuff we set our mind to. And it's just a great example when I'm out, you know, teaching clinics or different things, and just to tell that story, because there was moments in that day that I thought that this wasn't a good idea, but I just kind of pushed through it and followed through with my actions, and it worked out great. So that's just one of my favorite memories of probably my whole rodeo queen experience.
Such a fun story, and that is a huge feat. I mean, there's times that people, when you are used to roping, you still might not catch 2 out of 3 steers at a ranch rodeo. You know, just given the kind of the wild and western excitement that goes on, you know, at a ranch rodeo. And well, Brooke, I have so enjoyed getting to visit with you this morning. And honestly, it just reminds me of the first time I met you. And so, you know, Brooke and I met. I actually judged Brooke at a rodeo queen competition back in the fall of 2016. And I remember thinking then, as I was interviewing you, Brooke, that I really want this girl to run for Miss Rodeo USA. I really want her to run for Miss Rodeo USA. And I wasn't in a capacity to where I felt comfortable, you know, like coming and talking to you in that way yet, because I was judging, and then I had to leave quickly, like before coronation or any of that. And so then once you won, I just really, you know, kind of kept up with you via social media and whatnot over the next few years. And I was so excited whenever you decided to compete for Miss Rodeo USA, and it's just been wonderful getting to know you better this year. You bring so much to the sport of rodeo, and just you know, women in general, just empowering women. And I love how you share your story, and you share it in such a authentic, beautiful way that we can all relate to, no matter kind of what walk of life we're in right now. And is there anything else that maybe we didn't hit on today that you want to share with us, or kind of let us know where we can find you to keep up with you?
So throughout this year, throughout 2020, you can follow me on all the Miss Rodeo USA platforms. We've got Instagram, Facebook, the blog that runs on the website. You know, it's endless. And, you know, after that, just plain old Brooke Wallace, you know, that's where I'll be. And then, of course, here in the near future, you'll start seeing my design business as well. So y'all can look forward to that too.
Yes, and I'm excited. I'm just going to go ahead and give a little teaser here. So Brooke and I are working on a project together as well, and to be determined on the actual launch date. But you know, I've just really had this calling to write children's books that are geared toward lessons learned and growing up based on true stories, you know, in the Western or agriculture industry. And once Brooke and I met and just sharing our goals and dreams and ideas with each other, and I saw, you know, how artistic she is, I was like, hey, would you ever consider being an illustrator, like for this idea that I have? And of course, in Brooke fashion, she just jumped on board. And so I'm really excited to work with her after she finishes her Miss Rodeo USA reign, just to where we can bring some of these stories to life, you know, and share them with lots of people, and just the impact that hopefully they will have, and what we'll get to experience, you know, working on that, you know, closely together.
yeah, I'm just as excited as well. And, you know, even too, before Dakota reached out to me, I had thought about that before, but I didn't really have the writing ability, whereas that's what Dakota brings to the table. And then I bring the illustrating thing to the table. It just fell into place.
Yeah, it just so much to look forward to. Brooke, thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. I know you've got to get things around so you can get headed to Oklahoma, but have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Dakota.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.